Hi guys, today I'm back to film a review on the Rimmel Lasting Finish Foundation. I'd seen a lot of beauty YouTubers talking about this a little bit more recently, and I've already tried this foundation once. I've tried it when I was in high school and it came in a different packaging. It was like a darker squeezy tube packaging, and I was a little hesitant to try it again, but so many people were saying it was like their new kind of holy grail drugstore foundation. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. But it retails for $7.99, which is pretty good for a drugstore foundation. I'd say that's probably a pretty average price. Maybe a little bit even on the lower end, because I know L'Oreal's and Revlon Colorstay are around like $11, $12. So this is actually a little cheaper. But they only have 7 shades, so that is a little bit of a downside. I know that, I think anyways, Rimmel is like more of a UK based brand, so it is possible that maybe there would be some more shades in the UK. But from what I've seen in most stores, there's only 7 shades of the Rimmel. So anyways, this is called the Lasting Finish Foundation again, but it claims to be 24-hour wearing with, and it has comfort serum in them. It also claims to be a skin perfecting full coverage foundation. It's got SPF 20 in it. Some other little claims on the back. It says instant perfect coverage that lasts all day, sweat, heat, humidity, and transfer proof for up to 25 hours, dermatologist tested. So I would say most of this is true. I think if you wore this foundation for 24 hours, it would still be there. I don't think it's going to look nearly as good as it did when you first applied it, obviously, but I think you would still have at least traces of it on your face. Obviously has a comfort serum in it. If you ever try this foundation, you'll kind of notice it, I feel like, pretty much right away. It has SPF 20, that's kind of undisputable. It says it's a full coverage foundation. I would agree with that too, compared to like my Revlon Colorstay or my Tarte Amazonian Clay. I feel like this has pretty good coverage. It's the only thing I have on today. I just have under eye concealer, and then I set my under eye concealer with my NYX Radiant Finishing Powder. So I just have like a little triangle of powder right here, but otherwise I have no powder on my face or anything, so you can see it's a pretty matte finish. But I feel like it's pretty good coverage because I do have a couple like acne, zits, whatever, and you can kind of see them, but I feel like you can see them because it's more of a textural issue, not because the color is peeking through. Especially from a distance, you really don't see them. So I would agree that it's pretty full coverage. It says sweat, heat, and humidity, transfer proof. Transferring, I have had it transferring a little bit here and there. It depends kind of on what it is. If I wipe my nose with a tissue, it comes off. If I give someone a hug, it's not, you know, it doesn't really transfer. So that's pretty good. It's just kind of in the middle with the transfer proof thing. The sweat, heat, and humidity, it does hold up pretty well, but since I already have kind of more oily skin, I feel like it does get oilier faster when I'm sweating and when it's hot and it's humid and that kind of thing. So I feel like it holds up okay. It's just, it doesn't hold up as well as some other mattifying foundations. And this doesn't really claim to be mattifying anywhere on the bottle, but I mean, with it on, it clearly is pretty matte. So I don't know, it holds up pretty well in heat and stuff, I would say. I have heard some people say that living in like Texas and stuff, this is just their holy grail because it just works so well in the humidity. But it hasn't been too humid here. It's actually been pretty cold, so I haven't really got much of a chance to test it in the humidity, but there have been a couple warm days, and on those warm days it held up okay. So kind of a couple cons before we get into the good stuff. There is no pump. And I know that's, you know, typical drugstore thing at this point, but this foundation is kind of thick, and I think a lot of that has to do with the comfort serum. The texture of this foundation, it reminds me a lot of my Cosmetic CC cream, and maybe that's because it's got like a little bit of a serum in it too. I can't explain it. It's nice and moisturizing, but it's, I don't want to say it's gel-like because that's just not the right word. But if you've ever played with a serum anywhere, you kind of know that feeling that it has. It's just a very nice, comfortable, like smooth consistency. And you can kind of definitely feel that in the foundation when you first apply it. Like, you know, on your skin, it just feels like skin, which is kind of nice. It is pretty lightweight, I would say. But the other con, besides this not having a pump and the formula being kind of thick to try to dump out, is this is really, really fragranced. And I kind of forgot that because it's been a while since I've used this. Like I said, the last time I used it was in high school, and I remember the fragrance then, and as soon as I smelled it again, I was like, oh yeah, it's strong. And you definitely smell it for the first like couple minutes that it's on your face. You know, now that I've had it on for a while, I don't notice it unless of course I open the bottle like I just did. But like on my face and stuff, I don't smell it throughout the day or anything. It's literally just for a few minutes after I apply it, and it's taking its time to set. So there is that. My boyfriend has never made a comment about the smell either, besides like when I'm applying it. So as the day goes on, it goes away. But if you're sensitive to fragrances, it might be a little bit of an issue when you're applying it, and might be something to be kind of weary of. I know that Taylor said that this foundation actually made her break out, and that made her kind of sad because she really liked it. But I'm wondering if that has to do with the fragrance at all. Just because I know some people, you know, when something's really fragranced, they tend to break out more from it. So yeah, that's possible. But otherwise, this foundation is actually really, really good, and I was pretty impressed because when I tried it in high school, I had the worst luck with this. It was, in places on my skin, it just looked gray and muddy, and people were like, what is wrong with your face? It looks dirty. And it was this foundation. And I think at the time, you know, being in high school, I was probably just applying with my fingers. And I haven't actually done that again with this foundation. I've been a little too scared to. But I have used it with brushes, and I feel like you get pretty good coverage from it. I would say it's slightly buildable. I can layer it just fine, but I feel like I'm not necessarily getting better coverage when I'm layering it. I feel like the coverage is kind of staying the same, maybe just increasing a little bit in coverage. So you could layer it up a little bit, but I feel like you're not going to see a ton of difference from it, and I feel like it's already pretty good coverage the way it is. So, but using it with brushes and stuff, it's great. This isn't my perfect shade match because Revlon Colors Stay, I buy Buff, and this is it in this Naked Skin bottle, and I feel like you can kind of see Buff is a little bit more yellow, and this one's a little more pink. So this is not my perfect shade, but with only 7 shades to choose from, I was afraid about it being too dark, or if it was yellow, it was going to oxidize and be orange. Like, there's just kind of some concerns. So, like I said, I have it on, and I feel like it's not too bad, but when I do it with a brush, I feel like the fact that this isn't quite my right shade is a little bit more evident, whereas if I use a beauty sponge like today, it looks like a lot better match. So I've been using this with my Real Techniques sponge, and I think it does great. I feel like it's still really good coverage. I haven't tried it with my Beauty Blender, but I feel like I'd get pretty similar results. The only thing is Beauty Blender might be just a smidge fuller coverage, because I do feel like the Real Techniques one might absorb just a little bit more product than the Beauty Blender does, so you might get even better coverage using a Beauty Blender. But as much as I kind of don't want to say it, I think this is like one of my new Holy Grail foundations, because with the Comfort Serum, it feels so nice going on your skin, and it feels a little tacky at first, and I really at first was just so turned off by that, and I was like, it feels tacky, like it's gross, but clearly once it sets, it's perfection. You don't really need a powder with it, because like I said, look at how matte my skin is, and I have no powder on besides my under eyes. So like you can see, it's a very, very matte. It's not tacky. It feels like skin, and your skin looks like skin, and I feel like a lot of that kind of is because of the Comfort Serum. I've kind of talked about this a little bit before, but I have enlarged pores on my cheeks, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see them, but they really don't look too bad, and some of that is my primer that I've been using it, and some of it I feel like is this. When my skin is really moisturized and stuff, it kind of plumps up, I feel like, and looks better. So because this has the Comfort Serum in it, it kind of, I feel like, plumps up my skin and makes it just look beautiful. It looks glowing, it looks moisturized, but like, I don't know, it looks just perfect. Moisturized, not dry, not oily, just just the perfect right in between kind of thing. So I've really actually grown to love this, and like I said, I think this might be actually kind of my new holy grail now too, because I really like the comfort serum, but I love that it sets to a matte finish. So that I think is great. My only thing is just the shades and the fragrance, and that could use a pump. Pump thing is not a huge deal breaker, but it would be nice to have a pump, and I'm sure I could probably find one to fit this bottle. It's typical, you know, drugstore like glass bottles. I'm sure some kind of pump would fit this top, but I've yet to try and see if my MAC one does. So anyways, kind of to wrap up my review, because I am kind of rambling a little bit, I think this is actually a really great foundation. I think that all the reviews I've seen for it have been pretty true. I know that there have been some people dry skin trying it, and I just don't know if I would recommend it for dry skin because, well, it feels really great with the comfort serum and it's nice and moisturizing and everything. I feel like that once it sets and it's this matte, it's gonna be too matte. So, and I haven't, well, I have had a little bit of dry skin. I've had a little bit of dry skin around my eyebrows because whenever I wax them, I just get some dry, like flaky skin, and it doesn't enhance the flakiness, which is fine. So I don't think it would be too terrible. I don't know. I feel like matte foundations and dry skin sometimes kind of don't always, you know, get along. But if you feel like you've got kind of maybe normal skin, like dry to normal, you could try this foundation out and I think you'd be fine. It's just more if you have really dry skin, I would be a little more iffy. Oily skin, it's really great. I feel like it does last pretty long time. The 25-hour thing is kind of maybe pushing it still. Like, you know, you'll probably still have some foundation on your face after 25 hours, but it's definitely not going to look like it did when you applied it. And with oily skin, I feel like you are probably going to need a powder to touch up if you're going to wear it for a really long time. But for the most part, I feel like it does stay pretty matte and it doesn't move or anything like that, so you shouldn't have any problems with it like breaking down with oil or anything. I've used cream products, powder products on top of this foundation, and it hasn't budged. Like my Benefit What's Up cream highlighter didn't budge. So the foundation does stay there. I think that's really great because there are some foundations that, you know, you go put that stuff on top and it kind of moves around. So anyways, I'm gonna wrap up this review. Like I said, I think this is actually a pretty good foundation. I'm pretty impressed this time around with it. Pretty happy I got to try it again. So I actually would really recommend this foundation, and if you know you want to check it out, you should. And that is it. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.